All right, welcome back. It's Bucharest Major SCA Qualifiers Game 2, XctN versus Fnatic. As we let ourselves into the draft for Game 2, we're going to find Fnatic at a 1-0 lead in this best-of-3 series. I'm Basekip. Joining me once again is Lumi, and let's get straight into it.
Yep, we just witnessed Fnatic making a very impressive comeback where they were down by, what is it? What's the number?
It was like 20K? It was like almost 20. I would have said 17 or 18K. So.
But
good stuff.
Even though they did make that comeback, they kind of got themselves in that position by, I think, in my opinion, choosing some poor fights. Right? They went into the jungle multiple times, and Envy quickly got underfarmed as a result. Yeah. And then after that, they kind of just hunkered down. Envy went for the SMY back into the Radiance. And got that level 20, so very key.
There were definitely some fights that they could have not taken, right? They could have just continued farming, gotten the Bloodstone a little bit faster on the Timber, pushed some more lanes. So we'll see. Maybe a little bit more patience for them this game. I'm interested to see how this draft develops. XctN actually banning out the Doom in this situation.
It seems like they believe that Doom is the best hero in the pool. If they don't have first pick, they always ban it. If they do, they always leave it back in the pool, which is very interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. So, I wonder if the Tiny is going to make it through. It's clearly a hero that both teams are willing to prioritize, but I haven't really seen it being banned so much in SCA in the last couple of days with all these qualifiers going on. So I guess we'll have to see. Because there were lots of position 4s banned in the previous game, and not nearly as many. So Raging Potato and DJ gonna have kind of the pick of the litter this game.
Ogre ban, interesting.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I'm very surprised to see the Ogre banned out. But I mean, I guess Fnatic are just trying to get rid of what they feel like XctN are comfortable with.
10 seconds.
I wonder what the DJ hero is going to be this game, because Fnatic seem to have like some pre-made combos in terms of their two supports, like they're like AA and Tusk, and they like Rubik and I think it's like often Rubik and Ogre, and then they really like the Shadow Shaman ET. So alright, this time around they're just gonna go for the Tiny and I guess leave it until a little bit later on.
Yeah, hard to pick a support combo when you can't, you know.
Yeah, when you've only got first pick. You don't have a 1-2. Exactly.
10 seconds remaining.
So XctN have, I mean, they really like their Razor and their Doom in the first phase.
Remaining.
I'm gonna actually bring up their recent drafts and just have a look.
Bounty Hunter generally is picked very highly, although that's, I guess, very team-based. I think some teams just don't really like playing Bounty.
XctN are definitely a team that plays it. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Fnatic's turn to pick.
All right, this is okay. This to me is really interesting because this support duo immediately screams to me that they have no reliable lockdown at all. And I can imagine that Fnatic are probably thinking the same thing. They're like, all right, how do we angle for Weaver or PL or Storm or any of these heroes that are just going to completely trash the these no lockdown supports. I think it's also especially important. A lot of the Jakiro playstyle from a lot of the, I think just everyone that plays it, is sort of being very aggressive and just shoving lanes. You're kind of constantly just spamming dual breath, threatening the buildings, forcing people to come and deal with you even though you're the position 5. But if you have a hero like Storm, or someone who can just, you know, run across and kill the Jakiro by himself with not that much of a commitment, then the Jakiro just turns into food. So I'm definitely looking for that.
I think that's more so for sieging the tier 1 towers. I've seen it less successful going for the tier 2 simply because Jakiro is so easy to pick off. Yeah, and I think players have been adjusting to that. I think they do go for the early tier 1 pushes on all the lanes. And after that, Jakiro kind of relegates back to a position 5 that sometimes hits stun during a team fight where he doesn't actually do that much. Then until, like, once you go for the high ground siege, then he becomes super useful once again to start liquid firing. In fact, I've seen Jakiro actually take the attack range talent increase at level 20 simply so you could liquid fire the base tower at a much safer distance.
Do you feel like this might be a reaction at all to the So did XctN have problems in the last game going high ground? Because we saw that their approach against the nonstop firestorm spam and all of the other clear that Fnatic had, especially with the ET thrown in the mix, was to just try and split, right?
Yep.
So maybe this
and they got a Rax out of that.
Yeah, they got 1 Rax, but then and I guess after that point we didn't really see them get into a position where they were able to try and go high ground again. But maybe that's something that bothered them a little bit last game, that they were forced to, even in a position where they were really ahead, they ended up being forced to kind of split push instead of just going straight up onto the high ground. So maybe trying to give themselves a guaranteed way to break high ground if they get ahead this game.
On that note, I know you were talking about mostly Underlord as the high ground defense, but what struck me as very kind of powerful that I didn't realize previously was the Aether Lens that was picked up by the Shaman.
Plus the
he was able
talent.
to, he was able to Aether Shock from very far away to just like pull the creeps back or just kill the creeps, but also just like Hex and Shackle super far away.
Yeah,
and that caught multiple heroes kind of by surprise. So.
Right.
To me, that was like a big part of base defense as well.
Yeah. All right. So XctN just seemingly going for a very 5-man oriented lineup here, right? It's they're going to take some early tier 1s with the Jakiro. They hopefully get some money flowing in as a result of that. They've got the ideally they have teamfight superiority because of the Tidehunter. And interestingly enough, Fnatic gonna pick up the Elder Titan here. So this seems to be one of their preferred methods of just kind of slowing down the game, spamming out waves, defending the high ground. Though I wonder how this is going to work in terms of who's playing what, because I feel like for the majority of the time I've seen these are 2 Pylai supports.
Exactly.
And the ET.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna be able to. DJ could play the hero.
Yeah.
So this screams Medusa to me right now for XctN, right? Venge carry, Medusa mid, Tide off lane. So that's gonna probably get the Medusa banned out. Medusa's also very good in this game, where I don't think he particularly cared too much about Tiny. In fact, he has a very good matchup versus Tiny in the mid to late game as well.
Yeah, it's could be what. So Medusa I think is quite good. Maybe in previous patches I would have said Venge SF, but I don't know if the SF is going to be that amazing of a pick this game. They do have last overall pick, so they've got options in terms of what they want to grab, or they'll be able to see the entire Fnatic roster and decide if they feel like there's too much burst damage or too much jump for the Shadow Fiend to be a viable pick. But that's kind of the archetype that we're looking at here, right? Somebody that's going to benefit from the aura, benefit from the minus armor, definitely going to be a right clicker of some description.
Unless this is just a clever ruse. If this was a complexity gaming playing, they love running carry Jakiro. And they were able to pull a couple of those games out, but I mean, they're probably the only team in the world that does carry Jakiro.
Yeah. It's cool that there are. I mean, I think that goes in line with a lot of what's happening in this patch. That there's every team just seems to be carving out their own thing to a certain extent. We got LGD playing off-lane Bounty Hunter. We got what are some other examples? I feel like I saw a weird support the other day, like a non-traditional support hero, but I can't immediately remember what it was.
Well, I mean, right here, right? Fnatic's one of the few teams that still picks Darkseer.
Yeah,
and the way that Ohio plays it is that he goes for the Helmet Dominator build, which is not anything like new or innovative, because I think Ice was the one that first really popularized it, where you could put the Iron Shell on the creep, and depending on the creeps that you get, you could even surge them into a team fight and then get off claps and stuff, or rather like Centaur stunts. That can actually be like pretty impactful in a team fight.
Ohio is probably the best player. I think I'm going to say he's definitely the best player in the world when it comes to the Centaur shenanigans with Darkseer. Like surging your creep in and then blinking after it and vacuuming everybody on top of it and getting the Centaur stomp. I see him get that way too reliably. He makes it look like it's just a spell that Darkseer can cast, right? Like, oh yeah, vacuum just has a stun. It just makes sense.
It's scripted, you know? Yeah. It's just like...
yeah.
You run your Centaur in, you have the blink vacuum kind of set up. But yeah, it's gonna be a Ursa. So I wonder who is playing what.
5 seconds
I feel like it's going to be an MV Ursa. Again, kind of creating that space. Very good matchup versus Tidehunter with the Furious Wipes. And then you have Abed playing Tiny in the mid. And Tiny mid traditionally plays very kind of tempo controlling, but I think the tempo controlling hero here is going to be Ursa.
The interesting thing to me about Fnatic's lineup is I don't feel like their answer to execration seems to just be go and brawl, just like go and fight them, right? They don't necessarily split push that effectively. I guess the Tiny
Darkseer does.
The Darkseer does,
Yeah.
Especially with the Dominator. But the other thing is that I feel like they also kind of need to be ahead to hit any buildings, right? Their building damage is bad. Other than Tiny, which is even then not that easy to just walk up to a tower and hit it, right? You could get swapped in a long way into an Ice Path or into a Ravage or something like that.
I wonder what is the justification for the Ursa pick. I mean, it's very good in the lanes.
It owns
but
Tide,
apart from
for
that,
sure. But
yeah. But apart from that, I'm sure there are other heroes that are better. Because the fact that he doesn't push that well, the fact that Ursa doesn't scale that well is a big concern.
Choose your hero.
Yeah. And Execration just gonna go for something relatively mobile themselves, picking up the Queen of Pain. So Venge gonna have to be doing the majority of the right click. I mean, Queen of Pain does kind of build into right click as well. You see Mjolnir a lot. Most people take the 40 attack speed talent over the cooldown reduction. The consensus just seems to be that is the better talent, pretty much every single time. But co-op in terms of the matchup, this brings to mind yesterday, Lumi, when we saw the oh my, what is this? What is this Pylite Tide Tiny?
This is some misclicks.
Is it?
All right, so the last time I seen Pylite I play support Tiny, that
10
was
seconds remaining.
I think when he was back in Cloud9 and you were able to, or was it
5
Team Secret?
seconds
That might have been
remaining.
Team Secret,
When you
where
could pull
you're
mid
able
or
to walk
whatever?
into a camp
Yeah.
and toss the neutral creep towards the creep wave, and then just do like some really cheeky shenanigan and pulls and stuff. And I
Yeah.
mean, Carry Bane has been done before too. You go to mid lane, you triple enfeeble somebody or double enfeeble, level 2 enfeeble. They have no base damage.
All right. They swapped it. They swapped it. We're good. We don't have
All
to.
right,
we
good,
don't have
good.
to theory craft on the merits of. Well, we
I
don't
mean,
have to-
again, it has been done before.
yeah,
so I
it's
just want to point it
it's
out.
not completely crazy, but instead let's talk about the Queen of Pain versus Tiny matchup, because from what we saw yesterday, Tiny can actually win this matchup insanely hard. Though I think the deciding factor here is going to be the fact that there's a bounty hunter in the game, right? So it's not just Tiny versus Quap 1v1. It's
Yes.
Quap plus
Prepare
bounty hunter
for
versus
battle.
the Tiny, and Fnatic don't really have the right
put the
position
Bane
for
there.
hero to.
You put the Bane there,
Yeah,
I
they can
think.
put the Bane there.
Yeah, the Bane Feeble or Brain Sap or whatever is going to be very impactful there. And the way that Tiny does well in the lane or have a shot in the lane, from what we saw yesterday, was you just keep leveling up toss, and you just toss nonstop at the Quap.
Yep.
You go for a bottle if you need to, but you also pick up a very early infused raindrops.
Do you see the Congo line? Sorry.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
It was actually like just like a one circle Congo line, and it decided to like go
They
off.
broke it off, yeah. Like, all right, we gotta get to these lanes. Bounty Hunter scatting them out here. Raging Potato. Oh, somehow finding a little
30
sneaky spot
seconds
to
to battle.
reapply the invis. Ohio
I had
around
no
the corner.
idea that was a spot for that.
Yeah, I had no idea either. Abed in some trouble here, getting slowed up by the orb. He's already got the tree grab. I don't know if that's necessarily going to help him. Is there going to be another stun soon? I don't know if they're even really going to need it. Pylite trying for the desperate body blocks. Abed turning around. They're going to get some damage down. Lumic is going to get burned out, it looks like. So it's a 1-for-1, but Execration going to take that trade any day of the week, killing off the Tiny before he even gets his bouncer in. And his TP's still on cooldown, so he's got a little bit of a wait before he can head out to the lane. At least he won't miss any experience, but that is not a good start. That's a lot of that is the bounty hunter like sneaky spot, seeing the they saw the Tiny coming down the hill and they knew that they could immediately run into position to kill him.
In fact, that was 100% that, so
Yeah.
very nicely done. Ohio Gonna double Iron Shell on the bottom lane and Vengeful Spirit, a low range hero, but should be fine here. Not gonna take too much damage.
Is Darkseer like the last hero left where you don't just steal the wave in the offlane? I mean, the Darkseer. I've even seen people do it as Darkseer, but this is the kind of the standard start. Lots of damage getting traded out, but Nando's actually the one taking the majority of the hurt. DJ trying to find him. He's got the salve. The dual breath is doing so much work. Ohio's going to be brought down. Nando has a stun in 3 seconds time. He just has to survive until then. DJ's not going to give him the opportunity. Lays into him with the... It's not the briefcase this time around. He's running in perhaps a little bit too far. Nando's already respawned, and if he gets in range for the magic missile, I think that might be the end of DJ here. Yeah, there's the magic missile, dual breath, still another couple of seconds. But there you go. We got something's happening at mid, but we don't have any opportunity to look over there since it's just mana and damage being traded everywhere at bottom. Ohio still has the surge, so feeling somewhat confident, but the magic missile is available, and Nando might just throw it out now. That's going to waste some of this surge duration. The ice path gets dodged. He steps around. The sleep comes through. Will the right clicks do it? Nando's tanking all of the ion shells. Raging Potato manages to go invis, just barely surviving. DJ punching through. This bottom lane has been just absolute chaos. We've already got 6 kills in 2 minutes.
I feel like they're trading a bit too much in the bottom lane. I know the Iron Shells is going to do a lot, but it's only a level 1 Iron Shell, and the damage is not particularly too high. As a result, I feel like they're perhaps overestimating how strong that they are.
Yeah, it's yeah, I think they are getting a little bit overzealous. I'd be inclined to agree. DJ's getting some pretty good levels, though. That's the one thing that has been working out. Oh, Abed is... I think Abed might be quite dead here on mid. The Janata is up. Carl needs to be a little bit careful, and the Shadow Strike is actually on cooldown for 2 more seconds. 1 second. Pilot Eye coming in with the sleep. Abed getting slowed up. As soon as he wakes up, Carl might be able to go and finish this off. I think he's going to throw out the dagger. That might just be enough damage. Pilot Eye is probably going to deny him if he needs it. Can Raging Potato finish it? He wants it. He's gonna get it. Raging Potato with the plays. I think he's gonna trade his life, but still,
100%.
That was so worth.
Yeah. I thought Pi would have. Maybe it was really. Tiny should have just stepped closer to the tower. No reason that he needed to.
Yeah.
Stay that far away.
Yeah, to stand close enough to the point where Bounty could actually finish you off.
Yash on top lane gonna die here. 1 more hit. Oh, the TP!
TP'd back to the tier 1, in fact. Wait, did Jakiro TP up there? No, he didn't TP up there earlier. I was like, did Lumic almost kill kill Yaj? But no, he actually looks like he walked up here instead. So he's going to take over the lane for a little bit. This seems to happen a decent amount as Queen of Pain on the mid lane, especially when you go for this build with the double null. If you pick up a kill, you do just have to go all the way back to base, unfortunately, unless you're like pre-buying a salve and a clarity to get them ferried out. But the safe lane needs the courier so much these days. Ohio might be finished off by Nando. The creep's getting involved as well. That last auto attack's going to do it. Nando now going to try for the TP out. Knows that he can't escape DJ. Oof. And he is going to make it. Some very clutch TP plays from XctN across the board.
There are so many kills that Fnatic would have gotten had there been no pesky teleport scrolls.
Would have gotten away with it too, if not for the meddling TP scrolls. Oh, Raging Potato coming in behind here. What's going to end up happening? Carl's tanking some more harassment. A lot of harassment, in fact. Arcane Rune up on this Bane.
Oh, that's a kill.
Yeah, this should be a kill. They got the Avatar, so they're going to give it to Abed. He won't be able to grab it. Actually, Pi finishing it off with the auto attack. Carl is unimpressed with himself. Meanwhile, up top, Envy chasing after the Tide, but he's got boots. Now the Ice Path coming through. They've also got the Gush. They're doing decent damage. Need to be careful about the turnaround. Looks like Ursa should just be able to run this off. Tick damage not going to be quite enough. Liquid Fire, no.
Yeah, it's got the Tango running.
If he'd tried to turn around to kill the Tide, he would have died for sure. But Envy runs it off, and perfect timing for the Shrine. Unless Raging Potato not quite able to get over there in time.
How's Raging Potato level 4? I guess he got a solo kill experience versus Abed's Tiny. So
I think everybody just got a bunch of levels bottom when they were just killing each other, right? It's like,
sure.
I have level 2, I die. You get level 2, you die. I get level 3. It just kind of went back and forth. But Fnatic are farming exceptionally well on all 3 lanes. That's the one big thing to point out. You look at Abed, and he's 27 and 11 on this Tiny versus the 12 and 4 Queen of Pain. This is the more I look at this, this matchup just does not look that great, right? Sure, you can say that the Bane has been here being a nuisance, but Tiny seems to be coping extremely well.
Well, I think he has a really bad matchup for the first 2-3 levels. Level 5 is where it really turns around because you just out-regen the Quaps. I think the Quap players should be actually adapting to it and picks up like infused raindrops or something to start blocking them toss damage. It's just simply too much.
Yeah, like maybe you have to go bottle, maybe you have to buy some more salves. Bane gonna tank some damage here. Pylai wants to try and tango his way through, but there is way too much damage. He's already slowed down by the Gush. That's gonna be the last hit from Yaj. Envy gonna start laying into Lumik instead. Wants to kill on the Jakiro. There is gonna be an Ice Path and a Dual Breath, slowing up Envy a little bit. Lumik still playing around his Tidehunter, knows that there's a Gush coming up soon, but they will still finish him off. The Thunderclap a little bit too low of a cooldown. And looks like maybe Tide also in a bit of trouble. Earth Shock, there you go. Along with the Stomp. Envy gonna get in front of him, waits for the Overpower. This is really nicely played by Fnatic. And one more auto attack's gonna do it. Ooh, that was nice by Pylai. Oh, by DJ. Sorry, not Pylai.
Yeah. Also, very smart decision by the Fnatic duo to, instead of going for the Tidehunter, who they got the initial engagement started with, they just went for the Jakiro. And had they not went for Jakiro, I think the Dual Breath Liquefier would have made the kills actually impossible on the Tide itself.
Oh, Ohio gonna get swapped back into the lane, immediately switches directions. Was somewhat anticipating it, it looks like. Yeah, he's gonna be okay. Nice reactions. You know, as the sleep on Carl, he's just gonna get brain sap down. I don't even know if Abed did any damage there. It looks like Pylai just finishing him off on the way over to the shrine.
I have not seen Queen of Pain win a lane against Tiny, which ironically is half the reason why teams are picking the Quap against the Tiny. And I spoke to the mid game of Tiny versus Quap. At a certain point, you just don't die to the Sonic Wave anymore as Tiny, and you just
kill
take
the
over
Quap
the game
anytime you want, right?
Exactly. So I just don't get it. Teams are constantly making this pick, and it has never worked. At least in the games I've watched.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll start to see something else. What do you think's good? Maybe a Viper, you know, something that's still in that lane dominator category, but maybe deals with the harassment better, or can like put on more pressure, isn't as reliant on your mana pool.
I think the most successful one I've seen is Medusa mid. First of all, Mystic Snake is such a hard thing to lane against as a melee hero. And then during the mid game, you have Stone Gaze.
Alright, they want to hire. They're going to swap him into the Ice Path, stacking their stuns a little bit. Nightmare helping to save, but he's going to be brought down. DJ thinking about continuing the pursuit here. Nando taking some damage, but he is still fairly tanky on this Venge. Gets out another stun. The Dual Breath coming through. The Brain Sap is going to finish that kill, and Raging Potato also brought down. They make it into a 2-for-2, and now Pylai. He's got the Fiend's Grip. Can he get a grip into a Brain Sap? I think he might actually be able to. The Brain Sap's cooling down. He's stealing the mana little by little. Lumik's got the wand charges, however, and he'll be okay. Alright. Pie not checking the wand just before he went for that. So what? 2-for-2 at bottom. Corona support for a Corona support. Slightly favoring Fnatic in terms of gold. Falling a little bit behind in terms of the experience. At least nice for Pie to get his 6. Oh. What are they going to do to Envy here? They do have a Ravage, but they need more damage, and that's where Nando comes in fact. They're rotating across. They do need to be cautious of the Enrage, however. And also the fact that the Ravage is quite slow. If Envy pops the phase boots and he's like midway in the distance, he might actually just be able to run it off, which would be pretty embarrassing. They could swap him as well. Raging Potato is going to slow him down. Alright, maybe swap into Ravage coming up. Oh, they swapped the Bounty Hunter into the stun. Now they've got the Ravage. He pops the Enrage, but no way to escape. Turns around, does a little bit. Highlight Eye coming through, but no, Nando's still looking pretty survivable. They do get the sleep out onto a couple. Abed now coming through. Does have a big Avatos combo. Tied dead before he even hits the ground. And it will end up being yet another 1-for-1. 10. We were at 10-10. 10 for 10. Lots of action all across the map. And they still want this Vengeful Spirit. DJ making the plays with the Stomp. He's still quite tanky, but Raging Potato, all he can really do is watch on as his Vengeful Spirit will get finished off. Oh, and Ohio tanks a Sonic Wave. Looks like he might tick out to the Shadow Strike. No, he's got his Dominator. He's got the regen.
Yeah.
Regen for days.
Regen. Yeah, he's fine. So what is his creep? Does he have a creep yet?
No, nothing at the moment. He'll probably go pick it up in a second. Raging Potato's got 6. Alright, I got track online. Very unfortunate that first Sonic Wave usage does not result in a kill. Very important for co-op that you're kind of getting a kill every single time Sonic Wave is off cooldown. So back to buying clarities and farming camps for him. Oh, DJ. Gonna be the first track kill of the game, it looks like. He's actually pretty fast, though. He's going for the stomp. No such luck. Just gets anchor smashed down.
Women and children and Kunka first.
Envy going for the Mask of Madness on the Ursa. A little bit of a... not necessarily a super farmy build. I do sometimes see people getting more points in Earthshock and kind of getting like a bottle Aquila to sustain it and then using the Earthshock to farm and threaten. But I mean, that's not really the point against the Tide, right? You just want the Fury Swipes maxed out, give you that kill threat.
Kill threat and threat against Roshan as well. If you ever see teams kind of like, let's say, do too much of a bottom push, for example, then you just walk into Roshan and take it for free. But
and they can even drag heroes away pretty nicely for the Roshan, right? They're gonna have the Darkseer just constantly spamming. He's even using his Dominator to steal Radiant Siege creeps. Why not?
Oh, that truck! Surge at him. Run at him.
I mean, Lumik's fairly tanky. There's the Macropie getting thrown. It's not really going to do anything. They do have the chain stun. Surge still on cooldown. He's going to throw the vacuum out. Ohio just wants his kill before he ends up being track fodder. Carl also coming in. He's not going to be the one to get the last hit. Still a nice track kill, but Ohio making the best of a bad situation. And like we were saying, that's space. Mid gets pushed. Envy is farming. It's a pretty hefty rotation for them to bring down the Darkseer. What else is going on? DJ trying to build up their catch a little bit more. Is just going to be going for out of Atos, which I quite like this game, because you know, the Darkseer brings a little bit of catch, but it relies on somebody else following up, right? And I don't know what. Okay, the Tiny is going to go for a blink, so they will at least have that combo potential with the vacuum. I want Envy again. Since the Enrage taking lots of damage off of that Shuriken bounce, however. And they're not willing to invest their average without some extra lockdown there. DD on the co-op. Lumik looking to get active, start taking some tier 1 towers down. This really is a big part of the Execration lineup, so important that they're getting this. Do you like the Queen of Pain build? Does she even have the Veil? Looks like skipping Veil and just going straight Orchid.
I mean, is Orchid good this game? Like, you could stop, let's say, Bane. And I guess,
it's good against Ursa.
Also has...
Like, the silence is annoying for Ursa to deal with. Kind of.
Okay.
Because you can't enrage at that point, and he's actually relatively squishy without being able to enrage and keep himself alive. Raging Potato gonna get dusted up here, but they aren't able to get any catch on him. Down bottom, Nando just getting charged down by DJ and Ohio. Looks like they surged in a, or maybe not even surged, but just ran in the Hellbear Smasher. And that was the end of that. If you surge the ET, does his spirit get faster as well? Is it? It's based on his move speed, right? So
I think it's based on your base movement speed, although I'm not positive on that.
Come on,
they're
DJ.
set to. Maybe they're set to a certain movement speed.
I'll keep an eye out for it, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Raging Potato, nice little courier snipe. Get that little bit of extra income flowing in for his team. The Queen of Pain is actually #1 on net worth now after they've taken these tier 1s. So Carl catching up nicely after not so great laning stage. Nando not so lucky, just gonna get gripped up and brought down. Tide trying to arrive, but gets knocked straight into the stomp. Won't really be able to do too much. Pi in some trouble, also gonna get daggered. Yeah, he's looking very dead. We'll do some damage. Up top, at the same time, Lumik looking like he's going to be brought down by Abed and DJ. And yeah, both supports end up dying across the map.
Ohio also pressuring bottom now, creep skipping, and allowing his own creeps too.
Look at this HP regen with the Unholy Aura as well. He had like 22 HP regen for a second there. Just absurd. He has gone for the 90 damage. I'm hoping for the Echo Saber. I don't think we'll see it, but yeah, he's just being a nuisance, right? He's forcing attention towards the bottom side. Envy, even though he's getting pressured a little bit, is still just farming. He's gonna pick up his blink soon. They probably go and try and get a pick off, or just make some space, get him the Roshan, and then that'll be a very strong timing for the Ursa. Not to mention the fact that the Tiny also has his blink.
XctN needs to be very careful because the Ravage is the only thing that's kind of keeping Fnatic away from the Roshan. And it's almost better that they don't use the Ravage for the next while because, again, once Ravage is down, there's no counterplay to the Roshan anymore.
Yeah. They almost
I've seen so many times.
Yeah, no, go.
I've seen so many times where like 15 minutes in, you spend your first Ravage for a fight, and you win the fight, and the other team immediately responds by, okay, we lost the fight, let's go into Rosh, because they don't have Ravage anymore. And this is especially true with the Ursa. So
yeah,
their fight selection has to be on point. Yeah.
Yeah, they almost want to wait for Fnatic to be higher level, so that if they kill them, it just takes them longer to respawn, and it's a longer portion of the Ravage downtime. Because, like you're saying right now, you'd have to win a fight like 3-0 for the Ravage to be worth it.
Top?
Oh, yeah, Raging Potato is looking pretty dead. Couple of ultimates expended to find this kill. DJ gonna secure it with the stomp. Wants that little bit of extra money towards his Atos. But alright. Is that one pick off gonna be enough? They're gonna go for the smoke. Envy gonna queue up the overpower. And they're gonna try and go for this. Meanwhile, over on the bottom side of the map, that's the Orchid being unveiled. They will be able to cancel the TP as well from Ohio, but he gets a good 2-man stomp. Carl, sick of this, is gonna throw out the Sonic Wave, but it was all space creation as Pi and Envy very quickly take out Roche. Yeah. It feels like XctN, their timing has not worked out the way that they were hoping. Right? Oh. And Ursa is out of there. Pi with the TP.
What would you say their timing is? I mean, this lineup is so weird. I guess to me, it's not really about timing. It's more about the way of play. Talk about that later. DJ trying to escape, and looks like he is going to get brought down. This is what they need to be constantly doing, right? You pick Quap, you pick Venge as your 2 carries or 2 cores, and what you're supposed to be doing is running into the jungle constantly with Raging Potato and finding a bunch of kills.
Shared Tango dropped on the ground. Courier almost gets sniped. What's going on over here? Nando gonna spot out Pylai die. Bane's still fairly tanky. Can't get the Nightmare off. No, there's the sleep. They do have Tidehunter coming across, but it's actually the Bounty who looks like he might now be able to finish off Pi. That's gonna be a nice track kill. Uses a Vessel charge. Envy also going to get scouted in a second as they do find Abed just around the corner. But he's standing right on top of his shrine, gets the avalanche off, and actually able to just blink himself out. Surprised that the Vessel tick did not cancel there. Envy tracked. They're stealing some Ancients, but that's pretty much the limit of what they're accomplishing here. And Envy comfortable jumping in. He does have the Aegis in reserve, so he's just going to go onto the Tide, vacuum back into the wall, slowing them down a little bit more. Nando still has the swap, still has the Force Staff. Tide going to try for the Ravage, but he just gets chewed up by the Enraged right click. And now they've got the Earth Splitter flying through. Looks like they will end up losing Envy's first life. Abed's on the sidelines trying to find Raging Potato. Won't be able to do it. Lumic does not have an Ice Path, so it just has to be the Dual Breath. It won't be able to cancel Envy's Blink. He does get swapped back into the Orchid, but he rejoins his team, getting Nightmared up. Lumic's now in big trouble. He's going to get stomped down. It looks like Carl does manage to blink away. Nando might not be quite so lucky, getting spotted by the ward. Pi placing it around the corner. Goes straight into the Fiend's Grip, finishes him off, and Fnatic just running them down. I don't know, XctN sticking around a little bit too long in this fight. I guess feeling confident because they had the Ravage up their sleeve.
Well,
but
he was the first one that died, right? I think as soon as Tide died in the fight, just get out. Without Ravage, you are not winning the fight. And even with the Ravage, like, Aegis is also a thing, so...
It felt like they were really root over onto the co-op. Looks like it might actually be the Elder Titan who's in some trouble. Not running back towards the team. Sleep onto Raging Potato. Stomp's gonna finish him. Now the Ravage coming through. Does manage to catch up the Darkseer. He does have Surge. Still available. Ohio quite tanky. Healing up a lot. Trying to kite back over towards the Ursa. And Queen of Pain's already used the Blink. Envy should be able to finish her off. Silence is there. He's still tanking a bit with the Enrage. He's standing in between the Ice Path, in between the Macropyre. He's still healing up, courtesy of his Mask of Madness. Can he finish this kill? The Spirit Vessel is going to be his undoing. But at the same time, they do end up losing Raging Potato. Yaj, no TP, just rejoins the team. Abed blinking across. Is he going to look towards Lumic? They do have Nando rejoining the fight soon, but he's not really choosing to engage. The interesting thing to me about that fight in the river is that they were clearly trying to bait for that fight to happen, right? The Venge still had Force Staff and Swap. So if they were actually worried about the Tide dying before he got the Ravage off, they had ways to save him, but I guess the damage from the Ursa was just a little bit unexpected for everyone involved. Even the Tide, you know, you saw him lift his arms and no Ravage.
Yeah, the Ursa ultimate double Shafiri swipe, so all of a sudden it went from not too much to a ton.
And Avatos combo straight into a Fiend's Grip. Abed finding yet another kill. Unstoppable streak for him. Important as Tiny that you're able to kind of keep this pressure on, keep Execration afraid. And they've done such a good job of dragging Execration non-stop to this bottom side of the map. Oh, they got the root over under the Queen of Pain, straight into the sleep, straight into the Earth Splitter. Envy picking that kill up, making pretty rapid progress towards his BKB, and at this point it feels like Execration are just getting torn apart. They're not even that far behind in terms of net worth, but the impact of the items that Fnatic are picking up just seems so much bigger than what Execration are grabbing. Like Venge almost has a Hurricane Pike, but what's that really going to accomplish if you're just running away all the time? Okay, that's the other thing. They've got good vision over in the Dire jungle, but Fnatic have not been playing there at all. They've been taking the fights on, the last two fights have been on their terms over in the Radiant jungle, which makes life a bit tough. Raging Potato actually queuing up a E-Blade, interestingly enough. I'm not sure if that's the item. I mean, I guess it's more ways to save people from the Ursa. A little bit surprised to see no Solar Crest on the Execration lineup this game. Would give them some more Roshan potential, helpful against the Ursa. You know, even more damage potentially against the Tiny if you do manage to catch him out. But we're just in farm stations right now. Carl's trying to finish up a BKB. BKB also being queued up for the Venge, so it looks like Execration very much deciding that, alright, our last timing that we have available is double BKB, and at that point, after that, I don't know what else they can do. They have to keep taking fights, and they have to keep making the track do something, right? Otherwise, the Bounty Hunter is never going to... You know, the Bounty Hunter is just going to fall off the face of the earth and not do anything. I do want Nando. Nando actually wants some action here. Going to try for the swap, but not going to make it happen. Envy jumping in with the BKB active. Nando force staffing himself away, also able to swap in Lumic into harm's way. They've got so many force staffs to help kite the Ursa. It's working out beautifully. The Rod of Atos is not enough to provide the catch. Roshan's still not up just yet, so with a BKB popped, Fnatic going to have to head back to the drawing board. This could be a good opportunity for Execration. They do have a Ravage ready to rock and roll.
Pretty bad sign for Fnatic that they lost that fight, and they didn't even bait out the Ravage. Just this is a problem that Ursa will have going forward. Everyone's and the Mother has 4 staffs, and it's really hard.
Yeah, there's 4 force staffs on the Execration lineup.
Yeah.
Alright. They're moving forward. They're standing on top of the shrine. They're going to force staff in, get the Ravage out onto 3. Actually catching 4 just on the edge. Ice Path follow up. But there's the vacuum into the wall, into the Centaur stomp. Ohio's got the combos. The Sonic Wave coming through. Ohio's gone. They aren't able to get onto the shrine. Envy's bursted down. Pilot Eye finally throwing out the grip, but he's just getting right-clicked to death. Looks like it will be yet another track kill. Lumik did lose his life in the midst of this fight, but it's looking great for XctN. Abed gets the toss up into the air, blinks underneath the Quap. DJ, does he have a similar escape? Juking his way through the trees, but does get stunned up by the Vengeful Spirit. The magic missile should be enough. Triple kill for Carl. Nando tanky enough to survive those tower shots. And such a nice initiation from XctN. Nothing flashy, just a Force Staff into the Ravage, but catching Fnatic right as they were coming up this hill. I would guess that Fnatic wanted to come and hold this high ground because they were expecting that there was going to be some kind of a move, but they were just a little bit too late. If they pop the Shrine, I think it's a very different fight, but the timing from XctN was just perfect.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
So, alright. Back in control. 3k the, well, 5k the net worth advantage. Queen of Pain going to be queuing up Ashiva's. Vengeful Spirit getting closer to her BKB. Are there items that you're looking for in terms of dealing with this kiting problem for the Ursa? Or maybe hold that thought.
Ooh, yeah, bounty.
Envy's in the pit, getting scouted, getting tracked. Does have the enrage. Roshan not helping all that much either. Gonna throw out a bash there. Roshan definitely playing for XctN. They are going to be able to jump in. They burst down the Bounty Hunter. Oh, actually not just yet. The Vacuum's there. He's getting Force Staffed. He's not dead. Just okay. Finally finished off. They sleep up the Tide. Macropyre splitting up the fight a little bit. Another sleep on the Tide Hunter. Toss back onto Nando into the grip. That immediately gets cancelled. Good positioning from Carl, but maybe this is a little bit too far. One more auto attack from Envy's going to do it. He pops everything, but they do manage to finish off the Quap. Tide taking damage. Still 25 seconds to go on the Ravage, and Abed still moving around, finding these Avatos combos. Raging Potato jumping in really deep. Another nice Force Staff play. Gets him up onto the high ground, but now they've got the root over onto the Jakiro. Is the Force Staff going to be enough to save Lubick? Abed once again surged up. Envy chasing forward. I don't think the track move speed is going to be enough to get Nando out of here. He's desperate for a swap. He heads a little bit further over, but that's just right into the rest of the Fnatic lineup. Abed and I think Abed making some really big plays that fight. He forced the fight by getting the toss back on the Venge. That forced the Queen of Pain to jump in a little bit too deep to get off the Orchid, and from there everything just completely fell apart.
Yep, surprising to see that in the game that there's 4 Force Staffs, MV is still having a decent impact in these fights. Able to actually pick off a hero or two. And now the second Roche is done. Aegis.
And the cheese on the Ursa. They're gonna give it to somebody else. Maybe Abed takes the cheese. Seems pretty value. What's Ohio got? Has just picked up a Crimson Guard. So just becoming tankier and tankier. He's got Guardian Greaves queued up after that. The damage on Execration is actually somewhat limited past a certain point, right? They've got decent burst, but if that doesn't kill anybody right off the bat, it all comes down to whether or not the Queen of Pain and the Venge can actually just stand there and auto attack. And that's not easy against the Fnatic lineup.
Yeah, because if you stand around and auto, you get comboed and you die. Like that, and that's generally the problem between Quap versus Tiny in this matchup, right? Tiny in the mid game just does not care about your nukes.
Yeah, it's and I really like the way that Abed's been playing these fights too. I've seen him multiple times just standing there, waiting for cooldowns in like a safe spot in fog. Goes in, drops a combo, resets. You know, I think realizing that if he tries to sit there and auto attack, he is going to fall to the same fate as the Ursa, which is just getting kited around. So it's just kind of using Envy to enable his positioning. They're going onto Yaj here. He's going to get slept up. He managed to get off the Ravage, but it's just a defensive one. Abed now jumping in once again with the Avatos combo. Envy surviving, and they've got the wave pushing in bottom. Execration completely asleep at the wheel. No Ravage available, and I think this might just be a clean lane of racks. They're going to throw out the Macropyre. It clears the wave for a little bit. But what can they do at this point? Another Avatos combo. Abed throwing back Raging Potato. Will be able to force staff himself out of there. Tiny in a little bit of danger. Doesn't have the cheese. Carl able to blink himself away, but he gets swapped back in by his teammate. Oh no, Nando. Just killing off the Quap. She's dead for 70 seconds. The tier 3 taking damage. They do have the backdoor protection enabled once again, but Abed is going crazy with the tossbacks. Now they've got the root onto Lumic. Only 2 force stabs to get him out of there. That's going to be enough, but it's all left to the 2 supports to try and salvage this game, and they just cannot do it. What is going on? Everybody's spamming chat wheel. Envy's diving fountain.
Radiant's bottom barracks has fallen.
And oh, jeez. Okay.
All right.
Radiant's bottom barracks
Well,
has fallen.
is that just game?
I think so. I mean, they can't push for more because there's still tier 1 and tier 2 still alive on the other side of the map. But still, Rax is up, and sure, you may say that, okay, that was an Aegis and Cheese push, so now without Aegis and Cheese, they can't go high ground again. And to an extent, I would agree with that point. But there's no hurry for them to, like, actually get the other lanes of Rax. They could just wait for the next roach.
Yeah, or they could just kill the Tide here potentially. Quap respawning soon, still a little bit to the Ravage. They're just moving Tide around, vacuuming him back. Envy still wants this kill, maybe diving a little bit too far. Does have his BKB, turns back around, looks towards Nando. No Hurricane Pike available, will be able to swap himself back onto Lumic. Envy, BKB just about to wear out. He does get silenced up, doesn't have the enrage. Sonic Wave's gonna finish him off. Highlight Eye unable to make anything happen with a Nightmare save. Just turns back around, offers himself up, but they're not done. They continue pursuit. DJ still tracked up. Gonna lay down the Earth Splitter just in case of a further chase. It does actually drag Carl back in, and Abed happy to slap him down, punishing the Queen of Pain for being a little bit too far forward. Raging Potato for staffing himself up. They still want this DJ kill. Abed once again thinks about re-engaging, but maybe deciding better of it. He still has his BKB. It's a full 10-second one ready to go. It's just Tide and the Bounty Hunter. They will now get a little bit of a re-engage out of the Vengeful Spirit coming in, packing a double damage. Ohio, fairly tanky. They're going to focus on the softest targets first, going for DJ. He's still surviving the vacuum into the wall. They're getting some bonus damage. Abed just laying through with the right clicks. Doesn't have to play hit and run tactics this time around. But they don't actually get any further kills. Raging Potato still chasing Ohio, who's trying to fight on top of his wall. It's 4v1. The illusion's helping him out somewhat, but he's dead. More track kills for XctN. Alright, they've just been marching up this mid lane, and are they, where are they about to head? Are they gonna try and go high ground? I guess they don't want to get tossed into tier 4s, so just gonna take this as a chance to get some wards down and reset. They also have to push bot.
Just wondering about, I know you're asking me about XctN's timing earlier.
Yep.
And I'm trying to think of a good time in the game where it's like, okay, this is go time. Thinking like maybe like level or minute 10 or 12, where generally you make the first big rotation as a team and you start snowballing. Jakiro is supposed to help you take more towers. I think that's really the point where you go do it. And I think XctN did make a move that like that. Unfortunately for them, they just never really connected with those moves. I recall you were saying that Quap just had the Sonic Wave for a long time before she used her first one. Also doesn't help that she lost the mid lane very heavily, so she wasn't able to get farmed. Just a lot of things that needed to go right for this lineup to work did not go right.
Yeah, I think if they'd completely crushed the mid lane the way that they were hoping to, things could have gone very differently, but that's where the play from that's where I think the play from DJ and Ohio was exactly the right decision. Like you even mentioned that you felt like they were overextending a little bit, or maybe fighting too much, but the one thing that they were definitely doing was keeping the Bounty Hunter away from the mid lane, right? That's
true.
The Bounty felt like he had to go and play bottom because he felt like he had to help the Venge plus Jakiro. And that let Tiny get to that kind of level 5 point that you were talking about, where he was able to start just spamming out with the toss and start turning the lane around a little bit. Alright, Fnatic gonna regroup, continue pushing out top. We got an SNY up in this Ursa. We'll see if that's gonna be the answer for Envy in terms of all the 4-staff kiting. He is moving pretty quickly. It's not the most standard item on Ursa, but like you've been saying, it's a very standard item for the patch, so Envy is just looking towards it for that. Also, a Basher is not necessarily going to help you when the other heroes have 4 staff, right? There's always going to be somebody ready to save. Alright, what's going on? Raging Potato trying to snipe a courier. We talked about the E-Blade earlier. He's actually got it now.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
we'll see if that ends up being helpful. He kind of right-clicks a little bit at the moment as well. I think that this is mostly for the Ursa kiting, right?
I don't think I've ever seen this before.
On Bounty Hunter.
Yeah.
Do you think it's
E-Blade.
Do you think it's
Bounty.
better than a Hex?
Wait, what is he trying to use this for? Like,
think-
helping your allies?
I think partially
Ursa?
helping your I think it's partially helping your allies, and I don't know, maybe it bursts somebody kind of quickly with the macro pyre, but I don't think that's what you're buying it for, right? I think it's mostly the
Dire's courier.
oh, nice the courier snipe. He blades himself, 4 steps up on the high ground, and he is out of there. Raging Potato not going to risk anything. But yeah, to answer your question, I feel like it is just to deal with the Ursa bursting people down and just kiting the Ursa and the Tiny.
Oh, that's gonna get harder now with the Basher, SMY. I mean, it's so hard to kite him when he has so much movement speed. Even with one Force Staff, he just catches back up to you again. You need like multiple Force Staff in the same target to save the guy.
Illusion.
Alright, looks like Fnatic just waiting for Roche, I suppose. What's Tide got? He's picked up some Greaves now, probably a similar story for Ohio, yep. He's grabbed some. Oh, they are going to be able to jump in onto Pylai Dai Abed inside of the pit, tracked up. Fnatic able to regroup nicely. Earthsplit are not going to really be doing anything, as they will just retreat back and take this high ground. The thing that they have going for them right now in terms of a Roshan standoff is that bottom lane is always going to be pushing in. So they can afford to give up a little bit of ground here and then make it up later once somebody has to go and defend bottom. XctN realizing that are going to shove mid and top literally as hard as they can. But, alright. Quap's got a Shiva's.
Radiant's bottom
Going for a
shrine is
Lincoln's
under
after
attack.
that. I guess it's like mostly just the Bane spells, right? That you're blocking. Oh, Quap. Nando, smoke gets broken. Avatar's coming in. The Ravage counter initiation. They've got the Ice Path as well. BKB's gonna get popped in a second. Looks like Nando should get chewed down. No, they've got the 4 stabs. He will get gripped up. Can they finally finish this kill? They will be able to. Pylai Dai just getting right clicked down by Carl. Sonic Wave's already been used. They will lose the Bounty Hunter as well. No. Able to E-Blade himself up. Lumix still going hard with these Ice Paths. Abed jumping in once again with an Avatar's combo, but Carl's tanky enough to survive this time around. They did pop a buyback on Nando. Able to re-engage into this fight. Tiny now silenced. Wants to finish this kill on Carl. Knows that he's probably not getting out of here alive. Carl picking up the double kill. Ooh, that little bit of extra survivability on the Quap with the Shivas and even just the ultimate orb coming in really big that fight. Envy
Is under attack.
for some reason just can't stop all chatting the Roshan timer at critical moments. I don't really understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
Radiant's bottom
But that was a
tower is
very,
under
very
attack.
good counter initiation coming from Tidehunter. Ursa was able to pop his Enrage, so he didn't really take too much damage, but the other one just ate it
Radiant's
full.
bottom shrine
Yeah.
is under attack.
I mean, Tiny, could not get the BKB off in time. Fortunate for them that they happened to have the Tidehunter right there as the smoke got broken.
Radiant's bottom
But,
shrine
alright.
is under attack.
Carl's hungry for some buybacks. He's hitting the tier 3.
Radiant's
It
bottom
will once
shrine
again
has
fall to the
fallen.
Darkseer and the Elder Titan just to spam things out. Keep the high ground up, but this is dangerous. This is Roshan number 3.
Radiant
Yes,
This is Refresher Shard. This is double ulti for this Tidehunter. Yeah, he's rubbing his hands together. He's like, gimme, 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 gimme.
fallen to the radiant.
That is going to be very hard to play against.
Oh man, is this how the game turns around? Back to less than 1K net worth lead.
Yep. We may have spoken a little bit too soon. For me. I'll wear this one. I thought after what happened bottom, this game was just done. But Carl has been putting in a very impressive performance, I think, on his Quap. Really finding just those fringe situations on the edges of the fight where he's able to pick somebody off and then just barely survive once they try and go on him.
Dire's bottom tower has been
At this
denied.
point, I guess Fnatic, they hunker down, right? But
Hunger down for what though? What is the late game? Because Ursa just does not scale. Tiny will scale, but 4 staffs are gonna kite them for days. They have to wait. I just don't know what's the benefit of waiting apart from not fighting against the Aegis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I don't necessarily see that much more scaling in the lineup. I mean, Ohio's just picking up some more auras. Gonna be going for Shivas, but Quap going to become not completely unkillable necessarily once she gets level 25, but it's going to become even more difficult, right? I feel like a lot of the times that the few times that Quap has died, it's mostly been blinking in a little bit too far and then getting chased down by the Ursa or getting gripped. And once the grip is off the table, it's going to be much more difficult to deal with her. Just going to queue up a Mjolnir for some right click. Definitely nice. Also really good with the spell lifesteal talent, of course. Not as crazy as the previous incarnation of the spell lifesteal on Queen of Pain, but still helpful. Especially when you've got the Shivas as well. It's kind of on-demand healing. Envy is split pushing as Ursa, trying to force them back, but does need to still be careful. And looks like XctN keen to pick up their first tier 3 tower of the game. I don't know, if you're Fnatic, you can't even really jump them outside of the base, right? Because the double Ravage is the kind of the be-all and end-all of team fighting in this situation.
Well, it depends on if you're able to pop your BKBs. If you get double Ravage and it's a chain stun, it's looking really bad. Howling was pressuring as well.
Yeah. They lose the tier 3. They don't get a tier 3 of their own, so nicely done by Fnatic to find that opportunity to get top and mid, push that all the way, and just buy more time. Yeah, the Aegis is actually on the Venge, which I don't know if that's hugely impactful. I guess it is still helpful. You can maybe get a suicidal swap off, right? And drag somebody out of position into an ice path with a double Ravage, and then you can pop back up and keep on fighting. So, not too bad. Also going for a Butterfly. The Venge feels like she wasn't really hitting all that hard, you know, say 10 minutes ago, but now with the talent at level 20 and getting close to this B-Fly, I think Nando's actually going to be pretty scary in these fights.
Yeah, once that B-Fly finish and the BKB, it just... What do you do against her? Look at how hard she's hitting. And she probably has some absurd attack speed as well.
Yeah. Venge's stat growth is actually so good. Like, 2.9 strength and 3.3 agi is pretty crazy. You don't normally see it because she's normally a support and quite a low level, but the core Venge actually looking fairly tanky in this situation. Like you look at Tiny, he's got 2900, Venge has 2560. So, looking good. XctN also have that attack range talent on the Jakiro, so if things get completely desperate trying to siege the high ground, they can fall back on that, though. Sieging looking like it might not be so viable as Fnatic just continue to split push non-stop. They're going to have to find some pickoffs, I think, first. Do you think that's another win condition for Fnatic here? Can they completely rat this game out? They don't necessarily have the best, like, high ground split pushing heroes.
I'm checking for some, like, level 25 talents and not really seeing it.
Where's Fury Swipes affects buildings? That's what we need.
That's exactly what you need. Fury Swipe affects buildings. I wonder what he ticks here. Fury Swipe damage or the AoE Aftershock. Or not Aftershock, Earthshock.
I would guess the Fury Swipes damage just based on the fact that he doesn't have like any mana regen in the build or at all. Like maybe if this was a game where you bought a Bloodthorn or a Hex, maybe you get the Earthshock AoE, because it is huge. It's like a whole screen. I feel like they didn't even adjust the animation that well, so it just looks ridiculous. But I don't know if he's going to be able to sustain it all that much, or if it's that useful. Quap has her Mjolnir now. She wants it. Probably wants to maybe hang on to buyback at the same time. When's Aegis down? That's already gone. All right. Hex on the bounty. I don't know where Raging Potato is finding all of this farm, but he's actually been farming up a storm. Queuing up a Dagon next. Fnatic still kind of twiddling their thumbs. Envy's going to have an Abyssal Blade before too long. I mean, that might help out with the lockdown situation against the Quap, but she's actually not gone for the spell block at 25, interestingly enough. It has gone for the Scream of Pain 1.5 second fear. So it's another interrupt, which I think is useful. It's like kind of a stun, but I do normally see the spell block. I guess there's just not that much to block in this situation. Tiny going crits. Still trying to deal with the split push. I feel like they need some, like... Well, they do have this ward, actually. They see him. Never mind. I said that, and they already had it set up. I'm just going to try for the BKB TP out. Gets swapped, however, and that might just be the opening that XctN were looking for. Very smart play. Perfect ward. Wave was in just the right position. He does have a buyback, but should be able to force it.
Is this a trend now? Get the first racks, lose the game. Twice it has happened already.
Yeah, could be. Well, we'll see. I don't know if it's over just yet for Fnatic, but it's certainly not looking great. The Tide double Ravage being pocketed this whole time has been the difference between feeling like they can take a team fight at all and just having to avoid everything. Still 60 seconds to go on this Tiny. There's a double damage on the Bounty Hunter. They do have a glyph, but Carl is straight up onto the high ground. Wants a tier 3 at the very least. They might back off if the buyback happens just to go and take the shrines, but they want this buyback. Envy, it is an exposed lane of racks over top. They're going to swap in the Dark Tier straight into the Hex. The Ravage is now coming out. No counter initiation possible. Second Ravage not even going to be needed as they find 3 kills. Buyback from the Elder Titan. They're just going straight for the tier 4s.
Oh my
Envy,
god.
what is he able to do? Is he even coming back just yet? He's not. He's actually just focusing on the racks. Who can they defend with? They do have the sleep. Envy now making his return, but it's only 3 heroes alive versus 5. And they've got the secondary Ravage. They're just going straight for the Ancient. They hex up onto Envy.
Oh,
now there's the
damage.
Ravage coming out. Efa can't do anything. He pops his BKB, but XctN going straight for the Jugular. Envy is going to be able to focus onto the Venge, but she's still got a cheese. She's still got her Butterfly working for her. They get the fear onto DJ. He gets right-click down. Carl is going straight through the Ancient, and the GG gets called at the last moment, but XctN. Excellent decision making at the end there. They set up the ward. They knew they needed the pick off. They set up the ward. They got the kill. Headed straight to the enemy base and cleaned things up from there. Even the swap into the Hex on the Ohio Darkseer was so nice.
Yeah, they made some like very good mechanical plays, but I think the big thing for me this game was the way that they were able to maneuver themselves into getting the third Roche. Because we saw Fnatic was able to control the map, getting the first 2 Roche. They were even up a racks, right? So
Yeah.
somehow giving away the third Roche was what ultimately cost them the game. Because if it had Aegis Cheese and the Refresher Shard, I think they would be in a position of